Hey everyone, welcome to the Creative Pro. Today I'm going to teach you the ideal process for logo design. And this is something I've kind of figured out over the years. And I find that this process, when applied, really allows you to get the most consistent outcome in a logo. A lot of times with designers and agencies, when you get a logo project, it's kind of exciting. And so the temptation is to jump right to design. I'm going to teach you not to do that. I'm going to teach you to apply this process. And you'll be glad you did because it's going to give you a better foundation. It's a research-based process, and it really lends for the best outcome. Okay, let's jump right in. The first thing you want to do, obviously, is make sure that you have a brief. So maybe this comes from the client, and maybe this comes from the creative director. Maybe this is something you just write up. But either way, you want to make sure you understand the client's audience. You want to make sure that you understand their business objectives. But the big thing is you want to learn their persona. So that's going to link right to the logo itself. Is it something that it should be, should it be funny? Should it be bold? Should it be academic? Should it be friendly and warm? All sorts of things you can really start to personify within just the brand and for the logo. So this is the place to figure that out because that's going to be a really good starting place for where you're going to head. All right, from there, you want to do category research. You want to look at what others are doing within this category. Sometimes I like to look at what's the worst logo look like and what's the best one. So the best people, what are they doing? And then what's the level C stuff that isn't very great? What does that look like? Because in the end, you want to do two things, and it's a little bit difficult to do them at once, but it's very critical, is you want to be able to create something that stands out from everybody else, right? And then the other thing you want to do is it still has to be appropriate. So it can't stand out too much where it doesn't look like the category. In other words, if you're designing a logo for a law firm, you don't want to make something that looks like a toy company, right? Two very different things. So category research, understand your category, understand what the market is like, and what the market demands in the current time. So very important stage. From there, you want to move to design research. And a lot of people just call this, inspo. And that really is a big part of it. What I like to do is I like to make a folder or make a couple folders, however you want to organize it, and start just pulling in all kinds of imagery from everywhere. It could be stuff from art, design, it could be music, whatever you want. It's just stuff that inspires you for the brand and for the logo, stuff that you're feeling like, okay, based on the research I've done so far, this feels right. And then what I like to do, it's always a good idea to put everything, once you've got it in folders, put it all in a big board, something like Figma or Miro, one of those sort of endless space kind of boards. There's a bunch of them out there. Find one and just start putting stuff in. You want to make sure it's all in one spot. That way you can start drawing conclusions, circling things, putting notes, really make the research your own. Okay, from there, you want to head into shape research or just exploring shapes. Shapes are really foundational to a logo. So you could look at shapes within typography, shapes within the words themselves. What's the negative space? You could also look at just all sorts of shapes. What happens when you use basic shapes? What happens when you use, when shapes collide and they move together or make negative space? All sorts of things. Just start to create logos with shapes. It will really come out later in the process if you've done this research. Okay, from there, you want to move on to fonts. So fonts, what I think the best thing to do is, either in Figma or Illustrator, whatever you're using, create a page with just, let's say the logo is just logo, write it out in one font, and then pick another font and write it out again. And just keep doing that. And do it as many times as you can, obviously with only fonts that you feel like are good and appropriate. But it's okay to explore some because you're going to be creating this a bunch of times, right? And then once you've done that and you've explored a ton of different fonts, just circle the ones that you feel like, hey, this actually looks really good. Even on its own, it almost creates a nice logo just as a font. So circle those, you're going to be using those later. Sometimes it's nice to circle a main one and then maybe have a second category that's like if there's a subtext or something you know is going to be smaller. Sometimes it's nice just to have that be a second page because that sometimes is a different font. Not always, but can be, okay? Once you've moved from fonts, go right to sketches. And this is the fun part because this is really where it starts to come to life. You start to bring in all the research that you've done and the things you've thought of so far into your sketches. So the reason sketches I think should be on paper is that it's quicker, it's faster, it's easier. Sketches are great because they allow you to basically create a bunch of logos really fast and you start to see how everything interacts. Once you've done sketches, move to number 7, which is sort. So take all your sketches and really look through them and say, okay, which ones are the best? Which ones make great logos? And just circle those images. And maybe I would say do 3 to 5. You don't want to do too few, and you don't want to do too many. If you have too many, it's just going to create too much work for you. But if you have too few, you won't have enough to work with. Does that make sense? So just maybe like 5, 6, something in that range. I'm not sure. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take those sketches and design them in black and white. Black and white's really important because it really shows just the logo itself. It helps you focus on the logo and not get too swayed by color at this stage. Color's great, but it can sometimes over-influence the design itself. So you just want to keep it black and white. Take those 6, those 5, however many you said, I'm going to take these and pull them over and design them black and white. Okay, and then from there, now it's time to do color research. Get a bunch of color palettes. You can use a website for this. There's a bunch of those that you can look at top trending palettes and that kind of thing. Whatever it is, I like to just put them all in one spot. Just grab as many palettes as you can. And sometimes I just make little squares, and I say, okay, here's one color palette, and then I'll do another one, and I'll say, here's another color palette. I like this. And then do another one and just keep going. Try to figure out what ones make the best palettes for the research that you've done, and then apply them to the logos that were black and white. And then from there, you design them with color. So this is your application process. Make sure you try a bunch of different variations. Don't just say, I like this logo with this color and then move on. I would try one logo with every single color and then move to the next logo. Try every single color. Whatever it is, you want to make sure you explore every option. And then refine. So in this stage, you want to basically take the logo that you've done and make sure it's perfect. So look at the pixels, look at the curves, look at the angles, look at how everything interacts, and just make sure it's professional, okay? And then from there, after you've refined everything, then you want to make your versions. So in other words, let's say that you had a logo that was, a wide logo, what does it look like when it becomes a tall logo? So if it's, icon and then text, what happens when it's icon and then like stacked text, right? Are there variations of the icon itself that change? Whatever it is, you want to make sure you provide the client with enough versions to work with. And then from there, obviously you're going to present and then export them in the different versions in the different files. So that's pretty much it. I hope that helps. If you liked this kind of content in this video, subscribe. Let me know what kind of things you'd like to learn. Talk soon.